Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Carly and I am the owner of Carly's Creations, and today we're going to work on a really fun split glitter and fabric tumbler. So I found this really pretty print that just screamed spring to me at Walmart. So of course I had to grab it. Yes. So we are going to work with that. We're going to work with some beautiful purples. Two of our new glitter colors that just came in. We're going to use purple monkey pants. Yes, you heard that right. And if you're in my group and you were on our live, you know what we're talking about. And pour some glitter on me, which again are two new colors that we just got in, and they are just beautiful. So I'm super excited to work with those. So I'm going to take you step by step on how I created this tumbler today. I hope you enjoy it. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like for more videos, and let's get started. All right, so we are going to use a 20-ounce stainless steel hog tumbler. We're going to need a foam brush, some painter's tape. I use the Frog brand, our Mod Podge, our glitter. This is Pour Some Glitter on Me. So beautiful. And purple monkey pants. And of course, fabric scissors and our material. So I did buy this by the yard. You can find tons of prints in the Walmart section and the craft section where all the material is. So what we're going to do first is I've already prepped my tumbler and just painted it just a flat white base, and that's just going to give us a good base for our glitter and our fabric there. I didn't want that stainless steel to show through. So I'm going to get my painter's tape and I'm just going to mark where I want the bottom part of my glitter. We're going to do the purple monkey pants first, which is the solid purple, and I'm just going to make sure that I pull around, keeping it as even as possible, because even though these are straight tumblers, they are slightly tapered, so do keep that in mind. These ones I got from Stainless Steel Depot, so I just kind of play around. You know, sometimes it takes a couple tries just to kind of, like I said, just get that as even as possible. And then just make sure it's all pushed down so you don't get any glitter underneath there. So just gonna push that under, makes it easier for taking it off when I'm done. And then we're just gonna use our Mod Podge, and we're gonna just do the Mod Podge method here. So obviously we're not gonna, this one is too, not difficult, but it's not a epoxy method for glitter for this style, because you want your glitter to just stay in certain spots. So this is where the foam brush comes in handy. We're going to use this beautiful one here on the bottom, and we're just going to get a nice even coat. Try not to clump your glue because it will show with your glitter. And we're just going to paint an even coat all the way around, and we're going to go ahead and pour our glitter on. And we're going to do this twice. So we're going to do 2 coats just to make sure that we do get enough coverage of each color. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry for about 45 minutes, and then we're gonna go ahead and take this tape off, and we're just gonna repeat that same exact step, just moving our tape up a little bit farther, and then we're going to apply the Pour Some Glitter on Me as our next glitter color. And I'm just gonna use my brush to just very carefully go up against the edge of that purple. I'm not going to retape it down there. I don't want to mess with that glitter at all. I'm just going to brush up right above it and add that glitter to there. So just you want to just make sure to not get any of the glue on your other color, obviously, because then that second color will attach to the first color. So just be careful with that, and we're going to go ahead and do this step, and then we'll be on to the next one. Okay, so we did add a second coat of the porcelain glitter on me. So we have 2 coats of glitter for each color, which gives us a good solid base here. So I'm gonna just very carefully pull my tape off, and what you wanna make sure that you really do is seal the cup here. So I'm gonna use the Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Clear, and I'm gonna spray just along the bottom here. I do end up spraying it about 4 times, just to make sure it's really staying in place. So when we go to our next step, we don't have glitter everywhere. So I've already cut my piece of fabric out. I'm going to have a few kits available on my website, so if you would like to make the same cup, you can. So make sure to look out for those. So we don't need a very big piece. I do leave extra room on the top and on the sides, just in case. And we're gonna apply it with Mod Podge. And something I've learned the hard way when I very first started is you want to make sure that you are using a Mod Podge that doesn't have any glitter or any kind of pigment powders in it, because yes, as you can assume, it will show up on your fabric. So again, I have found that out the hard way when I very first started, so now I know. So I keep a brand new one set aside strictly for fabric. That way I don't have to worry about it. So we're going to use the foam brush to apply the Mod Podge here, and again, just go up right against the edge. Make sure you get a good full coverage, and as you can see, I have the extra that I was telling you about. It just kind of makes it easier to kind of maneuver with, and then we kind of cut it off and line it up once we get it on the cup. So you're just going to get your brush and you're going to put a good solid layer of the Mod Podge on. Make sure, again, not to clump it too much, but you want enough on there that you're going to be able to get your fabric on and get it to stick really well. And so once we get it on, I'm going to kind of pull and tug it. I want it to be tight. That way you don't have any ripples, bumps, things like that for liquid. And or any kind of epoxy to get under that fabric, because it will show. So that's very important. You don't want to, don't yank it off your cup, but you do want to make sure that it is on there pretty snug. So you'll kind of see me tugging away at it. And then I just kind of cut along the seam in the back and just line it up as best as you can. Remember, these are handmade, so it's not going to be perfect. So don't beat yourself up about it, but do just make sure that you try to get that line straight and kind of lined up with your design as best as possible, but go easy on yourself. They're handmade for a reason. So and then you'll see how we cut the extra top off when we get closer to that step and get everything even on there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and line that up as best as you can along the glitter. Just go right up against the glitter, and remember to keep in mind you're going to put a vinyl piece over that, so if you have a little bit of a gap, that's okay, don't stress too much over it. So, and then just kind of fold your fabric over, and I work with my hands and I just make sure that I get it nice and flat and work out any glue that comes up through the fabric. I find it just best to just do it with my hands. And then we'll cut off that back there and kind of make that as even as possible. So I like that big front flower there, so that's going to be the front of our cup. So I'm going to put the seam towards the back, and then we'll make sure that we have all of our seams towards the back. All right, so we got our seam here lined up as best as we could, and I'm just going to put a little bit more of Mod Podge down on that seam before we cut the rim here. And one thing you want to make sure of is that your fabric is really sealed before you move to your next step. If it's not, what will happen is when you go to epoxy, you'll start to see what looks like wet spots. So if that happens, that just means your cup wasn't sealed. So we're going to add about 4 to 5 coats of epoxy on here. Okay, so now that we got our seam in the back, we're going to go ahead and cut this top part off here. And I'm just going to get my fabric scissors and just kind of run right along the top of the cup. Now at this point, ideally it would be great to have one of those, I don't know the technical term, so forgive me, but kind of like cup trimmers where you can create like a little seam at the top. I don't have one of those. I need to get one of those. So I'm just going to trim right up against the edge, and then a little bit longer in the process, I'm going to just sand really well on the top of that rim there, just so we make sure we get a good seal. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and add another coat of the Mod Podge on here. I'm going to add about 4 to 5 coats total for the fabric here. And I'm not going to add any more on the glitter. We've already sealed that with our Rust-Oleum, but we do need to make sure that we have a really good seal on our fabric here. So like I said, about 4 to 5 coats. Don't worry about putting too much. I don't think that's a thing with fabric tumblers. So just want to get that plastics consistency feel and make sure that we're good to go for the epoxy. Okay, so we have our Mod Podge on. I've already done all of the extra coats and it's time for epoxy. So I have my epoxy mixed up, and rather than doing what I normally do from like top to bottom or bottom to top, I'm going to take my epoxy and I'm going to apply it to the fabric first. So I'm going to go side to side as much as possible and get a good coat on our fabric here, and then I'm going to gradually move down to the glitter. So like I said, like I've sealed this really well, but those of you that have worked with glitter know that it kind of has a mind of its own. So any precaution that I can do to kind of prevent it from traveling, I will. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And I'm not doing a thick coat. I'm just doing a nice thin coat, and this is basically to pretty much get everything sealed, make sure everything stays in one spot. And then I'll add another coat of epoxy on top of that one until we have a smooth surface for our vinyl here. Okay, so while that's curing, we're gonna go ahead and make our strips. So I'm in my Silhouette Studio, and I'm gonna go over to the left-hand side here, and you'll see what looks like a rectangle, and there's different options that you can do. So I'm gonna do the first one. I'm sorry, my screen keeps going in and out every time I film the screen. For some reason, it doesn't focus well, so I'm so sorry, and I apologize for that. We're gonna go ahead and pick that first one, and what that's gonna allow us to do is create a square. So I'm going to kind of drag my mouse. You can kind of see I click and hold, and that will create this line here. So you can use this feature to create any kind of square, rectangular line, any type of shape. So we're just going to go ahead and get it to the size we want. Because I'm doing two, I'm just going to duplicate. So I'm going to right click that, and you'll see the option to duplicate, and another bar will pop up. So it's pretty easy to do. After we do that, we're just going to go ahead and hit send and pick your vinyl of choice. I'm going to use a glossy, and hit send, and your Cameo does the rest. Okay, so our tumbler has 2 coats of epoxy on it, and I'm just going to go ahead and get my sanding block here and just kind of gently sand any bumps that may still be there from the glitter. There's not too many, but I want to make sure that we have a nice smooth surface that we're working with before we go ahead and apply our vinyl. If you don't, otherwise you'll see those little bumps under your vinyl when you epoxy for the next step. So we definitely don't want that. So just go ahead and make sure I kind of use my finger and just kind of feel around for any bumps. And then we're going to do the same thing on the top. So we're going to sand down just the very rim of the cup there and get a better seal for our epoxy and make sure it's just nice and smooth. And then we're going to go ahead and wash our cup off really well. I use just warm water and dish soap, and then dry it really well, and then we'll be ready for our vinyl. Okay, so we're going to kind of just take note as to where our seam is here in the back, and that's where we're going to line up the vinyl strips down here at the bottom. We're going to make sure that all of our seams are in the right spot so we don't have kind of seams all over the cup here. So I'm not going to use transfer tape for this part. I'm just going to pull the strips off and just lay them down, and as far as getting it straight, we're just going to eyeball it the very best that we possibly can to get these straight. And then what we're going to do is get our X-Acto knife and just kind of cut off that excess there in the back. So sometimes it might take you a few times of kind of playing around, laying it down, making sure that you get it on straight. So don't get too frustrated. Just know that sometimes it takes a couple times. Sometimes you get it on the first try. So don't get discouraged if it seems harder than it is. And then just make sure that you get those seams lined up the best that you can, and that the 2 pieces in the vinyl there match back up. That way you don't have a little gap or anything in between your vinyl. Alright, so once we get the last of this vinyl on, our last and final step is just to add that extra coat of epoxy, and then we're all done. So I'm not going to add any quotes or sayings to the top Usually I will, or a name, something like that. But because this is something that's just going to go on my website, I do want to leave it open so that someone could add their own quote or saying or name, or sometimes just leave it blank. Sometimes they're just pretty without the words on it. So I like to leave that option once in a while. So this will just go on my website without the quote. And that's it for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And again, if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate. Let me know below. I make sure to try to always answer all of your questions. And don't forget to join us if you're on Facebook, Carly's Creations, Tumblers, and more. We have a great group there. We have a lot of fun, and I hope to see you over there. So I really love how this came out, and I hope you did too. See you on the next video.